Hello, this is Nick here from Gorgon Reviews, and I'm speaking with Andy Vallentine, director and co-writer of the film The Mattachine Family, which is having its world premiere on Friday, May 12th at the Seattle International Film Festival, which is also today, slash tonight. I always feel a little reductive when I try to give a small summary of a film, but the movie is primarily about a gay man struggling with what family and fatherhood means. His relationship is going through a little bit of a weird moment, and a foster kid was given back to his mother, the kid's mother, at the start of the film. But thank you so much for spending time here, Andy, this morning.
Yeah, thank you so much for having me. I'm excited to chat about the film.
And don't worry, I'll also chat about you.
Okay, we'll do.
For example, what's the first movie you remember seeing in theaters?
Oh my gosh. Um, I I don't, that's a really tough question. I like distinctly remember seeing Star Wars New Hope when it like came back into theaters with my mom. And I remember that movie, I remember like going to the theater, and I should go look this up like when that came back out into theaters. But I remember like going with my mom, and like something was different that time, you know? Like I'm sure I guess I had gone to the movies before, but there was something different that I was like able to like engage with the film, more so. That always like that definitely sticks out to me as like a turning point, as a
Mhm.
filmmaker.
Yeah. How are you feeling about the fact that your film premieres tonight at 6?
Uh, I'm feeling great. I think the like diplomatic thing is to say we're ready to go. We're 100% super excited, and in reality, I'm like biting my nails.
Mhm.
I think that like, we did throughout posts, we showed it to people, we showed it to friends and family and people that I trusted. And we had like a little test screening for it. But like tonight is like the first night that like a bigger audience is going to see it. So while the audience will be focused on the screen, I will be probably like getting up in the middle to go to the bathroom and stand on the side and like watching people's reactions. Just because, this is my dream that I've like wanted to make a movie since I was a kid, and it like comes true. I guess I made the movie, which is the dream come true, right? But then this is another part of the dream tonight, is like seeing an audience and how they react to it. So I am very excited, but also like a little nervous just to see how they react.
I won't spoil anything, but make sure you're standing on the sides early on when the foster care worker leaves, just to see that one. That would probably be a
Yeah, a good moment.
oh
Yeah.
yeah. So before this movie, you directed a few short films and music videos. What events do you think led up to you being able to take on and direct a full length feature film like this?
It been, I really had been in like training the last like 10 years. I went to film school in LA. I went to Chapman. And then after that, started with like very small music videos, where I was doing everything. I was the camera, I was cinematographer, I was doing the production design, producing, editing, everything, right? Like that's what we all do. And then as I got more opportunities, I was able to kind of just focus on directing. So like all of those jobs prepared me, I think, for making the movie. I think that like, independent filmmaking is like extremely difficult just to like be able to like get a project off the ground. And then also like for first time feature filmmakers, like, yes, we have like trained to like make this movie, you know, but like no one like prepares you fully until you're like in the moment doing it. It is not to go from like a 1 day music video shoot to like a 20-day shoot, where you're trying to like be consistent with like what themes you're trying to tell with the movie, and connecting how your shots are connecting from scene to scene. And then also, the we didn't have the luxury of like shooting for 3 months on end. Like we had 20 days to shoot like 8 pages a day, so we were like go go go. So but I'm like overall I'm like very proud of what we were able to create, and excited for people to see it.
So when you were doing shorts early on, you had to do everything, as you said. And as a director, it's kind of like you have to be aware of everything, but not do everything. Was that hard for you to give up the control, or were you excited to finally let other people do their job?
I think that that's always a challenge with the director, because as a director, we like to take charge and we like to see how things are done in certain ways. Um, and what I learned early on, instead of being like, oh, how the camera person is holding the camera, that's not how I would do it, or that's not exactly 100% how I would frame it.
Mm-hmm.
Like I look to my job is to like hiring the people that I admire and then also want to work with, and inspire. And they inspire me with their work and their life. So, that was, hiring the cinematographer and production designer and other producers on the project. Those were all people that I looked to like be able to like take my vision and create something with it, when I wasn't able to be there 100% of the time.
Mm-hmm.
I'm not giving, I was giving like minimal, we had with Julia, my incredible cinematographer, we had like lots of meetings to talk about lighting, and we watched films together, and we every scene had like references, and we had storyboards for how shots I liked. But like in the moment, you get in there and she lights that scene because I'm talking with the actors and working with blocking with them, so I'm, and there was definitely a few moments where I was like, oh, I really wish this lighting would be adjusted, or can we do this? Can we bump this up more, or whatever that might be? But I like left it to her, and that was, um, I'm thankful that obviously that she was an incredible cinematographer and we were able to do what we did.
Mm-hmm. And not only directing, you also co-wrote this film with Danny. And how was that?
Um, it was great to work with my husband. I think that we definitely have like two different styles of like working together.
Mm-hmm.
He very much likes to like write on his own, and then I like to like we have a discussion about something, and then he goes and he writes, and I like to like be able to be a little bit more like collaborative. But I'm also like I'm also the director, so I have to like remember that I'm like, I it's like we're sharing that responsibility. But this is like something, this film was obviously like a very personal story for us, because a lot of those conversations that Thomas and Oscar have about whether or not they want to become parents is like true, that like happened with Danny and I. Danny very much wanted to have kids, after we got married, and I was like, we gotta wait, see what happens with the career. I love I had wanted to be a filmmaker forever, and I was like, I got to make a movie before I have a kid. Like that's just like how it goes. And then, we ended up having a daughter 1 month after we wrapped photography. So I had, like, I think it's with the movie, we're gonna go, is it not gonna go? I don't know. We were like, well, let's go ahead and they both fell in line like right after one another. So
Mm-hmm.
pretty wild.
Definitely, when watching the film, I could tell it was felt really deeply personal, especially from the lead Thomas, since we spend so much time with them. What are you hoping, in particular, the viewers would take away from your story, from this story, the most?
I want people to, see that this kind of question a new problem that maybe some LGBTQ folks are having. And we're able to kind of expand our narrative away from the coming out type story or the accepting oneself. I think that was important for me, that, I had a very tumultuous like coming out experience, and like those pains, of with family and friends, and when that happens, like that was real and that happened to me. But so like to go back and make a movie about that, like I wasn't necessarily interested in that, because that was something that happened in my life a long time ago, and I've like moved past that. So like I'm looking at like what are the challenges that other queer people are facing in the moment, and this was like a something new that like hasn't necessarily been shown before, right? Like we have like
Mm-hmm.
Modern Family as like a gay couple, and but that's purely a comedy on TV, right? So you don't get to get into those like emotional conversations that we do in our film. So I want just people to be able to like watch this and see that new experience, you know, for queer people, but then also to be able to find like relatable themes, and everybody can kind of relate to this story, whether or not, you know, what do you do, you know, in your late 20s, early 30s? Do you have children? Do you not? Do you focus on your career? And we wanted to make sure too that that was like a fair, you know, justification of like, you know, it's okay to be able to be like, I don't want kids, you know, it's okay for that. So there, that's where like the conflict ensues in our movie, because you really
Mhm.
don't necessarily hate, you know, one of the characters who wants the kids and who doesn't want the kids. So
Yeah. And to bring up the name of the film, the Mattachine Family.
hmm.
Honestly, I don't even know if I'm saying that right.
Yeah, the
Um,
Mattachine Family. Yeah, you got it.
I ended up looking up the word Mattachine because I had no idea what it meant. I was like, is that an adjective? But you know, for people who don't want to Google things, why did you pick that name for this movie?
Sure. So the Mattachine Society was a society created like in the 1950s, and it was kind of the first gay rights organization, um, you know, ever, in LA. And while they had lots of faults of like of what they wanted, you know, I think that like they were able to um, become like a community themselves. You know, I think that we don't know what it meant to be queer in the 50s. That was like something totally different and something that like we wouldn't be able to recognize now. So I don't want to like judge them for them in the 50s, but they were able to like form this community and this chosen family. And so we liked that idea of like, you know, a group of people in the 50s who were pro gay rights. And there is a pivotal scene in the movie, where there's some steps in Los Angeles that are dedicated to the society called the Mattachine Steps. And so we thought it was just kind of like a nice tie-in to the story.
Yeah. Um, Finally, though, because his name's attached, I can't not bring it up. Zach Braff is an executive producer of this film.
Yes.
How much input or hands-on help, if any, did he actually give towards getting this film going and finished?
You know, it was one of those like I do say a lot of times that like luck plays like an important factor in a filmmaker's career, you know, whether we love it or hate it. Um, you know, an intern somewhere read the script at Management 360, got it to Zach. Zach, you know, that luck happened that that intern randomly read it, got
Mm-hmm.
it to Zach. Zach responded to it, you know, as like themes and stories that he was feeling, you know, about whether or not to have children or to become a parent. And it was just like an incredible experience to work with him and like develop the script. He really helped us in the development phase of like figuring out just how to improve the scripts. You know, he is like a master in indie filmmaking. Like I remember watching Garden State like when I was in high school, and I had to drive like 45 minutes to the like indie cinema, you know, to go watch it. So he gave us all of this great script advice, and we had lots of Zoom calls throughout the process of production and in post production of giving notes. I wish he could have been on set. He was shooting his own incredible film at the time. So, you know, he really lent his name to us and lent his expertise and advice, you know, and really was a mentor for me throughout this whole process.
Awesome. It's good to see that when the producers are more hands-on
Yeah,
and not just, you know,
a name attached, right?
a name
Yeah,
attached and
yeah.
a check. But once again, thank you for spending so much time answering questions about directing the Mattachine Family and more. Once again, its world premiere is today, Friday, May 12th, as part of SIF, and also tomorrow if
Mhm.
you missed the today premiere. Um, any final notes about future films you plan on making after this?
We'll see. You know, I got everything in the works. As any one filmmaker does, multiple projects like ready to go. So all I've got to do is, you know, go convince somebody to give me a bunch of money, and I'll go make some entertainment. So that is my goal in the next couple of months to go look for that.
Awesome. I hope you have fun tonight.
Thank you so much. Thanks for chatting.